you're not wearing all the hats, and the business can grow without you, which ultimately means the freedom of money, time, and mental space. And when we have the harmony of those three things, that's what I call your perfect day, or at least it's beginning to allow you to start crafting that perfect day.
One thing you said that was really true for me, and once I finally started to thrive in my business and didn't feel trapped in it, was that identity piece, right?
Yeah.
Like when my whole identity and all my ego and everything else was like wrapped up in my business, I was miserable. I was depressed. I was like having a really hard time with it. But once I realized like, oh, this is just like one thing that I do, and this is what I like to do, and this is what I get to do, but it's not who I am, and whatever happens with this business isn't going to really, in the grand scheme of who I am, it's not going to make that big of a difference. That changed everything for me, from just like needing to feel really important and needing to feel like and just getting to pull out of it and be like, no, this is how I express my purpose, and I don't need to make it more than that, because then it gives you, then you don't feel trapped anymore. Then you feel like I have all these options. This isn't it for me.
Yeah. So 2 points just on that. I think earlier my conversation about shifting the business's purpose to it just being a vehicle, right?
Yes.
To all of these other things. Like arguably I did not learn that about my gym just until last year. Like I knew that, but again, like spotlight factor, I live in a very small town. Like as much as I tried to remove myself from that picture, just by natural occurrence and proximity, it puts me at the spotlight. And that was very, very hard to separate the personality piece of it, right? Like, but the understanding that it's just a vehicle, I think that's step one. And then step two is just that vehicle has other opportunities. And at the end of the day, that vehicle is just an exchange of services for money. It is a transactional thing. And again, you're so emotionally, subjectively caught in it. It's hard to sometimes separate that and just understand that it is just an exchange of money for services. Like this, all of these relationships that exist within your business are transactional. Like they are.
Right.
And
right.
It's sometimes it's hard to hear that. But it is the truth, because when that no longer exists, that's when you truly learn that, oh yeah, like everything was just transactional. That's all it was.
Yeah. And I think that's been one of the areas that I've really struggled with, because another part of who again, one thing that's been a long-standing part of like my character is community building. Building a group of like supportive, a network of like supportive and mutually supportive people in your life. And the types of businesses that I've always run were like that. And so it really is hard to think about it being just transactional. And sometimes they don't see it that way either. No. Your client doesn't see it that way either. And that's a really hard aspect of the business. But at the end of the day, like, I think what makes a really good friend and a really supportive person in your life is to just be honest, right? And like the truth is that if you closed your gym, I probably wouldn't come, you know what I mean? Like we may not hang out as much or anything anymore. And I think people don't want to admit that all the time, but that's really the truth of it, And
I mean, that's exactly what happened. So like I closed my gym earlier this year.
Yeah, I wanted to dig into that a little bit, but yeah.
Absolutely. So I closed it earlier this year, not because it was doing bad or anything, but because Perfect Day Business Mentorship was kind of the direction I was going, and it was growing way too fast that I could be a CEO of multiple companies and run them all efficiently. That was the reason. And so when I say this, that your business is transactional, that is experience. That is being right there and living through that and understand and like learning to understand that that part sucks. But the only way you can understand that is by like going through it. I truly think that, because I completely relate with you that everything you've done to build the community surrounding it, but it's proximity. Like we all go to this one place, we all do the same things. So by nature, our friendships and our relationships are going to build. But when that center nucleus thing is not there anymore, it merely shows that it was transactional. which
Right.
it is what it is, right? Like,
Yeah, and not to get too philosophical
yeah.
on here, you've already admitted that you're not super touchy feely, so I won't like make you uncomfortable here. But um, but and that's just life in general, right? The truth of the matter is that like nothing is personal. We want to believe that there's like, but the truth of the matter is that everyone's just thinking about themselves in almost every interaction that you have. And business is no different. And I guess the only reason why I'm highlighting that in this conversation is you can be empowered by that bit of knowledge in your business when you realize it's not personal, this is transactional. I need money for my mission. And yes, this is how I feel good about my life. This is what helps me to feel good about everything. You can kind of take a step back and do what you need to do for the business to get everything else you need out of it.
Yeah, I think that's going to help you make better decisions. Just even
Right.
simple things like your client wants to cancel. You're going to handle that conversation a lot differently than if you were caught up in, oh man, this person has come here for 8 years and they're talking about loyalty and this and that. And like, now they want to quit. I was just hanging out with them last weekend. Like, what happened? Why did they, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
definitely going to make you make better decisions, which at the end of the day, I have this saying, at the end of the day, it's you and only you. As in, like, everything that you do, like, we say the things that we do is for our family and like all of that, but like at the end of the day, it's just you. And so you
Right.
have to make sure that the decisions you make are putting your scenario in the best possible place. And so that's part of it, is just, okay, cool. Let me remove my emotions from this situation. What does the business need? Because the business is my vehicle for these other things that I'm trying to do.
Yeah. So this kind of leads me to a question. I've been, again, because I knew this about you. You closed your business somewhat recently, but I know you work with other business owners and you've been around lots of like gym owners and other business owners. When is the right time to sell your business? When is the right time to either walk away? I know a lot of people who just literally close their doors, didn't sell it. And I know other people who have sold their businesses. And I'm just wondering, what's your perspective on when is the right time for that?
So I think context is really important, because one of the most immediate questions I got was like I, just like you said, I hate my business. I hate what I've created. I hate the staff issues I have, blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to close my business. How do I do it? Because you just did it, so I want to do it. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, just put the brakes on, okay? Context is important. And so I'm really glad that you asked me that question, because it sets it up. So here's what I mean by that. The business is your golden goose, right? Like, it's the thing that pays your bills, gives you an income, maybe, I hope, gives you passive income so that you can use that money to go and invest in other things that will create more passive income or have other opportunities that are producing income. So all in all, to say is that the business is your golden goose. And if you don't have anything outside of that golden goose, then that does not make sense to just close or sell because something just is not aligning in the way that you want, right? Usually what happens is we get to this point and you look at your business and you're like, this isn't working. I hate what I've created. So the easier option is just to close, instead of trying to acquire the skills that you're lacking for whatever situation has occurred, right? Like 9 times out of 10 at that point, the friction point is you haven't obtained the leadership skills. And so you might fight and interact with your staff terribly, and you might not be able to retain staff. And so if you're trying to remove yourself from your business, you actually can't because you're having staffing issues. So the easier thing to do is just stop the business or sell it, instead of learn how to be the leader that your business needs. So
That's way too uncomfortable. You want me to grow and learn something new?
and so what I'm meaning to say is that for most people, if they just stopped, had objective help from the outside to say, all right, here's what you need to learn and do to help you get past this troubling point, and then the business will continue to soar in the way that it has, right? Now, if you do have, like, if it's your golden goose, but it has given you the opportunity to invest in other things, to have other sources of income, to have other opportunities that are maybe, and I use this term loosely, but better than what it is that you have in front of you, then that's when I would probably look at the option of like, if truly moving on is something that you've come to the decision of, that's when I would do it. But
Right.
the questions from the people that I were getting, they were just not set up with anything else other than the golden goose. And so if you take the golden goose out of the equation, like you're starting a business from zero with no income, like why? Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I've always felt about it, right? And even people who don't own businesses, you know, like say they like don't like their job, they work for other people, they don't like their job. I always say like, don't quit your job. Like,
Yeah.
take the time and the security of what you've got right now to build something that is going to be better for you. So the best time to look for another job is when you have a job, you know, and you can level up, right? You don't want to be in this situation where you're going to take anything that the first thing smoking towards you because you're in this desperate crisis situation. And it's the same thing with your business, right? Like if you don't love your business, the best thing you can possibly do is to get it to the highest level possible. Learn, like you said, learn the skills, learn the abilities, so that you can then go. You have a much better platform to jump up to the next level up, or just to something different that you feel like is a better fit for you. Like don't just throw a match on the thing.
Usually, you think the steps are too big. Right? Like you're looking
Yeah.
at this incredible steep mountain in front of you, but actually it's just a series of successive little steps. You know,
Yeah.
I think one of the most common things I hear is that like, I hate what I've created. Like I hate the way the business is now running itself. And it's like, maybe it's just, we need a switch of a model. We just need to switch the model. Cool. Well, we're
Yeah.
not just going to upheave everything and just launch a brand new version of your business tomorrow, but we can make those small successive steps towards making it more of what you want it to be. You know, and that was
Yeah.
part of it too, is like I had run that business for 15 years. And what it was in the beginning and what it was when I chose to close it looked very different. And that's fine. That's what the business needed. But it wasn't serving me in the way that I needed it to serve me for what I wanted my future to look like, you know? So.
Right. Yeah. And I think, you know, that's like one thing that you said a minute ago is like really important too. Like if I hate my business, most of the time it's like one or two things, right? Like, and it's like, we don't really want to have the courageous confrontation of that particular issue.
Yep.
Maybe it's a staff person, maybe it's one of your clients, maybe it, you know, there's like, you know, and it's like a lot of times things can get a lot better for you or like you said, maybe my model, there's something about my business model that I really, that's just driving me crazy. I think like taking that head on and just addressing that piece can make a major difference in how you feel and the money you make and everything else in that business, you know?
Yeah, which just comes back to our conversation on resilience, right? Like,
Yeah.
and adaptability. Like, cool, your business can look like whatever you want it to look like. And just because you've spent the last 5-6 years building it to look a certain way, doesn't mean that we can't pivot.
So on your website, it talks about going from a good day to a great day to a perfect day. And I'd love to kind of hear a little bit more about your perspective on that. You know, like, you know, what's a good day, what's a great day, and then what's a perfect day for how you coach people?
So the idea is that the type of people that we work best with are those small business owners who are kind of stuck in that $8,000 to $10,000 a month range and just can't seem to break through that. So when we talk about getting to a good day is where you can walk into your business and, you know, you might have some consistent cash flow, or you have better idea of where the money is coming from. And more importantly, that there is money coming, right? So the first step is to break through that $10,000 just to get you past that. And part of like, there's 3 main systems we work on: marketing, sales, and team, in order to do that. So that good day comes from building your marketing system. It's just knowing that there is a consistent cash flow and a way to produce that cash. Okay.
Yeah.
When we move into our great day, it's like, okay, cool. There's money coming in. It's predictable. It's stable. I have a sales system that I can depend on, which means I now have like money in the business that I can use as leverage. And so that leverage is often used to buy yourself time, right? As the CEO, it's looking back on, all right, my hands aren't best in the business. I'm better serving putting my thinking cap on and thinking, because that is the best role that a CEO can do, right? So we use that leverage to buy yourself time to put you in better positions. And that's where hiring that team comes in at the end. And once we have all 3 of those system, sort of the foundation's built, your marketing system feeding into your sales system, feeding into your rockstar team, then we know that consistent cash flow, you're not wearing all the hats, and the business can grow without you, which ultimately means the freedom of money, time, and mental space. And when we have the harmony of those three things, that's what I call your perfect day, or at least it's beginning to allow you to start crafting that perfect day. And that perfect day is going to look different for everybody, whatever that might be. But the main premise is that you have choice, and you have the ability to make a choice in how that day looks. And
Right.
you can't do that if you don't have the harmony of those three systems feeding into those three freedoms. So that's how the good day, great day, perfect day sort of system flow works. That's how we move through that.
Yeah. So I'm curious about what would a perfect day look for you? You know, I know
Man,
perfect days look.
95%
Tell
of the
me about
time
it.
I live it. And I look back on my 20-year-old self, and I just commend myself for, again, like pushing through everything and playing the game and learning everything I had to, because I want more people to wake up every morning and feel the way I do, the level of excitement I have about how my day is laid out and the things that I get to do. So my perfect day, when I first did this exercise, now for anybody that's listening that doesn't know what the perfect day exercise, it's pretty straightforward. It's like a series of promptive questions. The idea is go sit somewhere where you can just think, not be interrupted, and really just truly like focus on yourself and what you want, and start working through, what time do you want to wake up? Like, where are you living? What are you doing first thing when your feet touch the floor, when you swing your legs out of bed? Like, what's the first series of events? What time do you start work? What do you do for work? How long do you work? You know what I mean? Like, just starting to map that all out. And the very first time that I'd done this was maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. And I drew my picture not surrounded, but like on the dependency of Arizona. So I'm Canadian. The winters here are absolutely atrocious. I hate winter. And Arizona seems like the best logical place to just have summer all of the time. So I drew my perfect day picture around, I was living in Arizona, and the freedom to just wake up, hang out with my dogs, my husband. We would go hiking. I would come back. I would spend 2 hours doing some work 2 or 3 times a day. What that work looked like at the time I had labeled it, I still have the first copy of this, but it was some remote work. And I just put quotations around it because I didn't necessarily know that the gym was going to be the thing that I would still be doing at that point. And then it was, hang around the pool because it's Arizona. What else are you going to do? And things like that. Like, I even mapped out like what kind of chair I was sitting on, drinking a cup of coffee, and like when in my day, because little details like that are important. I didn't know that at the time, but they are truly important. And so part of that exercise sets you up to make all of the correct decisions along the way to build the the likelihood that perfect day comes true, right? And the idea is that it's just a template. It's just a place for you to pour out the things that you truly want in your life, and that perfect day is going to look different through the different phases of your business. Absolutely. Like, mine changed several times. It always involved Arizona in some way, but how I got there looked different. And so, this led to things like, okay, cool. The business is a vehicle. It provides me this cash. Here's what I did with this cash. Well, I bought a bunch of Airbnbs. Now we have property in Arizona, which now gives me a place to go to. And next thing I know, the series of events are falling into place for what I imagine my perfect day looking like. And so what I mean by it, I just want more people to experience the way that I feel when I swing my legs over the bed is like, hey, you should be excited about your day when you wake up. If you're not excited, then we need to look at that. Like, what is going on? What are you doing that is not bringing you the type of joy that doesn't make you excited about getting up and ready to go in the morning, And then do you want the slow start, the fast start? What kind of start do you need in your morning? I love getting out of bed, grabbing my cup of coffee. I walk into my office here, I take a sip, and the very first thing I do is I start writing. And that is just like, like even just like talking about it just makes me feel like I love that part of my day. That is my favorite part of my day, is the first like 90 minutes of my day where I work on my business. And so I do that 2 or 3 times a week, 90 minutes a day. Like that's it, of things that actually grow my business. I work out, I spend some time with my dogs. I give my time and attention to my clients. So that's where I might do some meetings or run some group calls. And then I'm done work at like 2, 3 every day, because that's the time I hang out with the dogs. My husband gets home, and then it's about investing time and energy, attention into those around me that mean to me, right? Like my family. So, the only thing that makes the 5% when I say that I am 95% living my day every day is, we're waiting to make the official move to Arizona for the winters for 6 months in a row. And that's just my husband, and his business needs to catch up and put him in a position where he can do that. And that's cool. I have the choice where I could get up tomorrow and leave and never come back for 6 months. And that to me is sort of the green check mark on perfect day achieved. Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I think that the activity, I've gone through the perfect day activity multiple times, and I think it's such a important, activity for people to do, because if you don't know what the end goal is, if you don't know what you're working towards, if you don't know if you haven't clearly defined what sets you on fire and helps you to live a life that's like more on fire than not, then you don't really know how to get there. You won't know what direction to start walking. And how to start tweaking things. A lot of people, when they do that, they don't actually even know, right? Like they'll sit down and they'll be like, what? Like, what do you mean? It's so hard for some people.
Like, I'm going to work 9 to 5 because like, that's all I know. That's the only context I have. Cool. Write it down. It won't look like that in 3 to 5 years, I promise, but it's just a starting point. Yeah. And I was going to say, like, I have a little handout on that. Like, if people want to hop over to my Instagram, Perfect Day Biz with a Z, Biz Mentorship, and just DM me Perfect Day, and I'll send you that. And then you can work yourself through all those questions and just look at what that means to you. Because like I said, you said that's a very valuable exercise, even if you don't have the answers right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, as at the end of the show, always, I like to do a little kind of activity with who's ever on the show. My show is, so again, what I feel like my purpose in life really is being a guide, a coach, a mentor for other people too. And the same thing, it's like, I don't care. It's not what I want. It's like, I want you to live the life that you want. And I feel like the foundation of that really is, and you talked about this a couple times during the show, is you have to have the optimal health for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And that doesn't mean the pinnacle of like human performance. That's a complete different thing, but optimized health. I do believe in meaningful community, and then like self-actualization, being like fully self-led, fully expressed, and, fully, working towards what helps you to feel like you're your best self, right? So of those 3 areas, optimal health, meaningful community, and self-actualization, which one resonates the most with you?
Oh, I can't pick one. Do I have to pick one?
You don't have to pick one. We're just like, what do you think about those things?
I feel like they are a harmony, and that at different points in your life, you will shift your focus to each one of those, right? At some point in your life, health is going to be the most important thing to you. And that's cool. That means you'll wake up every day and 6 a.m. you get your workout in before you do anything else. Maybe it doesn't look exactly like that, but the priority is there. And there might be other times in your life where pouring into your relationships is far more important than anything else that you do. Cool. Amazing. Like, put your energy and effort and attention there. And there's going to be other times where you just have to build who you are and your character and what it is that your purpose and what maybe the hard times that you're going through require you to sort that out and learn more about why you're in that situation and how to get out of it. Maybe that's like talking to a mental coach or something like that. Your life ebbs and flows, and so do those 3 things. And I think you can't be about just one of them, but at different points in your life, they're just going to do that and and balance the scale differently. And that is completely okay, as long as you incorporate those 3 things